Kale was just a boy when he first met Leora. The colony they lived on was far from Earth, on a rocky planet with orange skies and twin suns that painted the horizon in strange colors every morning. Life here was not easy. The settlers had to work hard just to survive, building shelters from the planet's rough stone and learning to grow crops in the dry soil. Yet despite the difficulties, children like Kale and Leora found ways to laugh and play. From the very first day they met, Kale and Leora were inseparable. They ran through the dusty fields, climbed jagged cliffs, and explored the hidden valleys beyond the settlement. Their favorite place was the Crystal Cave, a formation deep in the hills where glowing crystals grew from the walls and reflected every color of the suns. Kale had discovered it first and called it their secret place. Here the two children would sit for hours, imagining what lay beyond the stars, talking about adventures they would have when they were grown. Kale was a quiet boy, thoughtful and careful. He had dark hair that always fell into his eyes and a way of noticing small details that others missed. Leora was different. She was bold, full of energy, and always laughing. She could climb the cliffs faster than anyone else in the colony, and she loved solving puzzles and figuring out how machines worked. Kale admired her, not only for her strength and intelligence, but also for the way she made every day feel like a new adventure. One day, as the suns were setting, Kyle and Leora sat in the crystal cave, their legs crossed and faces lit by the crystal's glow. The sky outside had turned a deep orange and pink, and the air smelled of the dry soil mixed with a hint of flowers that grew near the cliffs. Leora picked up a crystal and held it in her hand. "Do you think there are people like us out there? On other planets?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Kale thought about it for a moment. He had read stories about humans exploring the stars, even colonizing distant worlds. "Maybe," he said finally. "Maybe, but if there are, I hope they are brave like you." Leora laughed. "Brave me? I'm not that brave. I just like to try new things. Sometimes it's scary, but I don't want to miss out." Kale smiled at her. He wanted to say something important, something that would last forever, so without thinking too much, he spoke from his heart. "I promise," he said softly, "that one day I will come back for you. I will marry you. I promise, Leora." Leora blinked at him, surprised. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that made Kale's heart feel lighter. "You're silly, Kale," she said, tossing a small crystal at him. "But I like that you said it. I promise I'll wait for you too." They laughed together, but the words they had spoken stayed with them. Even as children, they understood that promises were important, especially the ones made with the heart. That day, the Crystal Cave became more than a secret place for games. It became a place of dreams, a place where a boy and a girl dared to imagine a future together. Life, however, had its own plans. Not long after that day, Kyle's family received news that they had to move. His father, a skilled engineer, had been assigned to work at a distant research station in another star system. The station was far away across hundreds of light years, and it would take years before they could return. Kale was heartbroken. He did not want to leave Leora, not after the promise they had made. Leora tried to be brave, but she too felt the pain of separation. The night before Kale's departure, they returned to the Crystal Cave one last time. They sat in silence, listening to the wind whistle through the crystals and watching the twin suns sink behind the horizon. "I'll write to you," Kyle said, his voice shaking slightly. "And I'll write back?" Leora replied. They hugged tightly, neither wanting to let go. Finally, Kale whispered, "No matter where I go, I'll never forget. I will come back, I promise." Leora nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'll wait, Kale. Always." The next morning, Kyle left the colony, boarding a sleek transport ship that would take him to a life filled with challenges and adventures. As the engines roared and the ship lifted into the sky, Kyle looked down at the colony, at the tiny figure of Leora waving from the ground. He clenched his fists, feeling the weight of his promise. He knew it would not be easy to return one day with a ring, just as he had promised, but he was determined. At the research station, Kale's life changed quickly. He trained as a pilot, learned about star navigation, and studied every kind of alien terrain and environment. The work was difficult, and sometimes he felt lonely, missing the laughter and courage of Leora. But every night, When he looked at the distant stars, he remembered the crystal cave and the promise he had made. That memory kept him going, stronger and more focused with each passing day. Meanwhile, back on the colony, Leora grew into a remarkable young woman. She became a talented engineer, helping the colony develop advanced technology to survive in the harsh environment. Her inventions made life easier for everyone, from water systems to solar collectors that captured the energy of the twin suns. Yet despite her success, Leora often found herself gazing at the stars, thinking about Kale and wondering if he would ever return. The letters they exchanged became a lifeline. Kale would describe the strange worlds he visited, the aliens he met, and the dangers he faced. Leora would write back about the colony, her projects, and her own dreams for the future. Each letter reminded them of their bond, their shared adventures, and the promise made so long ago in a glowing crystal cave. One day, Kyle received a mission unlike any other. He was to explore a newly discovered planet with dangerous terrain and mysterious signals that no human had ever investigated. The mission was risky, but he knew he could not refuse. The thought of returning home one day and keeping his promise to Leora gave him courage. As Kale prepared for the mission, he remembered the crystal cave once more. He imagined bringing back something from the stars, a treasure to show that he had kept his promise. He did not yet know what form it would take, but he felt certain that one day he would return with a ring in hand. On the other side of the galaxy, Leora continued her work, building machines and tools that would help the colony thrive. She often tested her inventions on the cliffs near the crystal cave, imagining that Kale might one day see them and be proud. She never forgot the promise they had made, and she never doubted that he would try to keep it. Despite the distance and the years that separated them, Kyle and Leora grew stronger in their own ways. Kale learned courage, resilience, and wisdom from his journeys across the stars. Leora learned innovation, patience, and leadership as she helped the colony flourish. Both of them understood that promises made with the heart were not just words. They were commitments that could endure time, space, and every challenge life threw at them. The crystal cave remained their secret. Even as the colony grew and new generations of children played in its glow, it was a symbol of dreams, a place where two young hearts had dared to imagine a future together. Kyle's promise was more than a memory. It was a guiding light, leading him through countless adventures, keeping his heart tied to the girl he had vowed to marry. And so, the boy who had once promised to return with a ring continued his journey across the stars. Each mission, each discovery, each challenge brought him closer to the day when he would finally come home. Leora, back on the colony, waited with hope and courage, knowing that the bond they had formed as children was strong enough to withstand anything, even the vastness of space. The promise made in the crystal cave on that long-ago day was still alive. It was a promise of love, of loyalty, and of a future that neither time nor distance could erase. And deep in his heart, Kale knew that one day he would return to Leora just as he had vowed, with a ring in his hand and a heart full of the adventures that had made him ready for the life they had dreamed of together. Years passed, and Kale grew from a boy into a young man. The colony he had left behind faded into a distant memory, replaced by the vast, endless reaches of space. Life at the research station was challenging. Kyle trained endlessly, learning how to pilot advanced spacecraft, repair engines in zero gravity, and navigate through dangerous asteroid fields. Every day brought new lessons, some exciting, others terrifying. He had faced storms in the upper atmosphere of unknown planets, survived malfunctioning equipment on distant moons, and learned to negotiate with alien species who had no understanding of human customs. Each challenge shaped him, making him stronger, smarter, and more confident, despite all the new experiences. Kale never forgot Leora. Her face appeared in his thoughts during quiet moments, her laughter echoing in his memory. He remembered the crystal cave, the sunset with orange and pink skies, and the promise he had made so many years ago. It was not easy to keep that promise in a galaxy filled with dangers, but he carried it like a guiding star. Every mission, every discovery, every struggle reminded him of the day he vowed to return to her. Kale's travels took him to planets with red deserts, oceans of liquid methane, and towering forests of glowing plants. He made friends with other explorers, learning from their experiences and sharing his own stories. He also learned humility, discovering that no matter how skilled he became, the universe was vast and unpredictable. Kale faced moments of doubt when missions went wrong, or when he felt the loneliness of being so far from home. Yet every letter from Leora reminded him that someone was waiting for him, believing in him and his promise. Back on the colony, Leora's life also changed. She grew into a remarkable woman, respected by her peers for her intelligence and innovation. She created machines that helped the colony survive harsh winters, invented systems that conserved water and energy, and taught younger settlers the skills they needed to thrive. Yet no matter how busy she became, Leora often found herself thinking about Kyle. She remembered the boy who had promised to return, the laughter they shared, and the adventures they had dreamed of together. Every achievement she made was shared silently with him, as if he could somehow see her efforts across the vast distance of space. Kale's career eventually led him to join a team of explorers tasked with charting new star systems. The missions were risky, but he embraced each challenge with determination. One mission took him to a planet covered in jagged ice cliffs and freezing winds. The terrain was treacherous, and the team struggled to maintain footing while collecting samples. Kale worked tirelessly, helping his teammates navigate the dangers and ensuring that their equipment survived the harsh conditions. During these moments, he thought of Leora, imagining how she would solve problems and lead with calm intelligence. His memories of her gave him strength, even when the wind and cold threatened to break his resolve. Another mission brought Kale to a world with dense forests and enormous trees that reached the clouds. Strange creatures lived there, some curious and gentle, others aggressive and unpredictable. Kale had to carefully study the environment, understand the behavior of the creatures, and adapt his strategies to survive. Each obstacle tested his skills and creativity. At night, as he looked at the unfamiliar stars from alien planets, he pictured Leora back on their homeworld, watching the suns set over the colony. The thought of her waiting for him kept him focused, reminding him why he had started this journey in the first place. During his travels, Kale discovered ancient ruins left by a long-lost civilization. The ruins contained artifacts that told stories of bravery, love, and wisdom from thousands of years ago. Kale felt a connection to these stories, understanding that human experiences, courage, loyalty, love, were universal, shared across space and time. He realized that the promise he had made to Leora was not just a personal vow. It was part of the larger story of humanity's ability to endure, to hope, and to connect across distances and generations. Kyle's reputation as an explorer grew. He was known not only for his skills but for his unwavering dedication to his missions. Leaders trusted him with difficult tasks, and younger explorers looked up to him for guidance. Yet despite all the accolades and recognition, Kale remained focused on one goal: returning to Leora. The universe offered wonders beyond imagination, but nothing compared to the thought of seeing her again, of fulfilling the promise made in a glowing crystal cave on a distant world. Meanwhile, Leora continued to advance the colony's technology. She developed energy shields to protect settlers from storms, improved communication systems to maintain contact with distant stations, and even built experimental vehicles to explore nearby planets. Her work made the colony safer and more prosperous, and her leadership inspired others to reach higher.
Yet she never let herself forget Kale. She imagined his journeys, picturing him navigating alien landscapes, learning new skills, and growing into the man she had once known as a boy.
Every project she completed was a quiet testament to her hope that he would return. Years later, Kale was given a mission that would define his career. A newly discovered planet showed signs of valuable resources, but it was unstable, with frequent storms and dangerous terrain. Kale led a team to explore the world, collecting samples and documenting the environment. The mission was exhausting and dangerous, but Kale's experience and determination carried them through. Each challenge reminded him of the early days with Leora, of their shared adventures and the promise that had driven him for so many years. During the mission, Kale made a discovery that would change his perspective. Deep within a canyon, he found a rare crystal unlike any he had seen before. It glowed softly, reflecting colors that reminded him of the sunsets on his home planet. He realized that someday he could use materials like this to craft a special gift for Leora, a symbol of their promise that had endured the distance and the years. The thought filled him with hope and excitement, renewing his determination to return home. As the mission concluded, Cale prepared for the journey back to the research station. He knew that soon he would have the skills, experience, and resources to fulfill his childhood promise. The years of study, the countless missions, and the challenges faced in distant worlds had shaped him into the person capable of returning to Leora with honor and sincerity. He felt ready, not only as an explorer but as a man prepared to keep his word. Back on the colony, Leora continued her work, guiding the younger generation, building technologies to improve life, and maintaining hope in Cale's return. She often visited the Crystal Cave, now a quiet place of reflection. The crystals still glowed with the same magical light, and she remembered the boy who had promised to return. She felt a mixture of anticipation and excitement, believing that the universe, despite its vastness, would eventually bring Cale back to her. Cale and Leora, separated by light years and years of experience, were connected by something stronger than distance. Their shared promise, made in the innocence of childhood, had endured through time and challenges. It had guided Cale through dangerous missions, inspired Leora to build a thriving colony, and reminded them both that human connection was stronger than any obstacle. And so, Cale prepared for the next stage of his journey. The universe was full of wonders, but his mind and heart were focused on one destination: home. He knew that after everything he had experienced, after all the lessons learned and challenges overcome, the moment of reunion with Leora would be the greatest adventure of all. It would be the day when the promise made in the Crystal Cave so many years ago would finally come true. Cale's story was no longer just about exploration. It was about hope, dedication, and love. Every step he had taken, every planet he had visited, every danger he had faced had been preparation for this one moment. And as he looked out at the endless stars, he whispered to himself, "I will come back. I will keep my promise. I will bring the ring and return to her." Leora, meanwhile, looked up at the same stars from the other side of the galaxy, imagining Cale navigating through the unknown. She smiled, feeling a connection that distance could not break. She knew he was out there, growing stronger, preparing for the day he would return, and she waited patiently, knowing that promises made with the heart were never truly forgotten. The years had shaped them, taught them, and prepared them. Soon the day would come when Cale would return to the colony, and the promise of the Crystal Cave would no longer be just a memory. It would be a reality, the beginning of a new chapter for the boy who had dared to vow and the girl who had waited. Many years had passed since Cale had left the colony. The boy who once played in the Crystal Cave had become a man of strength, courage, and wisdom. The universe had changed him, shaping his heart and mind through endless journeys among the stars. He had seen strange worlds, survived great dangers, and earned respect across many systems. But through all the years, through all the stars and missions, he had never forgotten his promise. Now, after decades of exploration, Cale was finally going home. The ship he traveled in was sleek and powerful, made with technology far more advanced than anything the colony had known in his childhood. As he looked out from the cockpit window, the stars seemed to glow brighter, as if welcoming him back. His heart raced with excitement and nervousness. So much time had passed. What if things had changed too much? What if Leora no longer remembered him the way he remembered her? Cale held a small box in his hands made of shining metal from a distant world. Inside it was the ring. Not an ordinary one, but a creation that symbolized his journey. It was crafted from rare metals he had found on an alien planet, mixed with a small crystal that resembled the glowing stones of the cave, where he and Leora had made their childhood promise. When light touched it, the ring shimmered with colors of gold, blue, and violet, just like the sunsets of their home. As his ship entered the colony's star system, Cale's heart beat faster. The scanners displayed familiar coordinates, the same planet where he had grown up, the place where everything began. He took a deep breath. "Home," he whispered softly. After all these years, the descent through the atmosphere felt like a dream. The orange sky, the twin suns, and the rugged cliffs all looked the same as they had in his memories, yet more peaceful, more alive. When his ship landed near the main colony port, people gathered to see who had arrived. They saw a tall man step out, wearing a uniform marked with the emblem of the Galactic Explorer Corps. He looked confident but humble, his eyes warm and thoughtful. At first, no one recognized him. It had been so long. Then an older man stepped forward, studying Kale's face carefully. "Kyle, is that really you?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. Kyle smiled. "It's me, old friend. I've come home." Word spread through the colony quickly. The boy who had left decades ago had returned, the same Kale who had promised to come back one day. Everyone wanted to see him. Children ran through the streets shouting his name, while adults whispered stories of his adventures. Some said he had traveled beyond known space. Others claimed he had fought space storms and survived black holes. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. Kale had returned. But Kale had only one person he truly wished to see. He asked one of the townspeople, "Where is Leora? Is she still here?" The woman smiled kindly. "Oh yes, she's here. You'll find her at the energy labs near the western cliffs. She's one of our leaders now, a brilliant mind. She helped turn this colony into what it is today." Kyle thanked her and began walking through the colony. The roads were no longer dusty paths. They were smooth and well lit with clean energy lights. Buildings were taller. Machines worked quietly in the background, and the air was fresher than he remembered. Everywhere he looked, he saw signs of progress, the result of Leora's hard work. Finally, he reached the edge of the colony, where the cliffs overlooked a valley of glowing crystals. The sight took his breath away. It was the same valley where their secret cave had been, the same place where a boy had once made a promise to a girl. Inside a large building made of glass and stone, Kyle found her. Leora stood near a console, her eyes focused on a large display. Her hair was longer now, streaked with the light of age and wisdom, but her posture was as confident as ever. When she turned to face him, the years melted away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air seemed to stop moving. "Leora," Kyle finally said, his voice quiet but steady. She blinked, studying his face. Then her eyes widened in shock, followed by disbelief. "Kyle, it can't be." "It's me," he said softly. "I told you I'd come back." Leora took a slow step toward him. Her eyes filled with emotion, surprise, joy, and the weight of years gone by. "You really came back," she whispered. "After all this time, you really kept your promise." Kale smiled gently. "I told you I would. I just took the long way around." They both laughed softly, though tears shimmered in Leora's eyes. She reached out and touched his hand as if to make sure he was real. "You look different, older, but it's really you. And you," Kale said, "look just as I remember. Strong, brilliant, and beautiful." Leora blushed slightly and laughed. "You always knew how to say things like that." They spent the rest of the day walking through the colony together. Leora showed him all the changes, the new energy systems, the improved farms, and the schools where young settlers studied science and engineering. Everywhere they went, people greeted Leora with respect and admiration. Kale could see how much she had achieved, how much she had given to this world. He felt proud of her, proud to know that the girl who once dreamed of stars had become someone who helped others reach them. As they walked, they talked about the past, their childhood adventures, their old friends, and the cave that had once been their secret place. Leora smiled fondly at the memory. "I still go there sometimes," she admitted. "It helps me think. It's quiet, peaceful, and it reminds me of you." That evening they went to the crystal cave together. The cave still looked the same. Glowing crystals lined the walls, filling the air with soft light. It was as if time had never touched the place. They sat together on the same rock where they had once made their promise, surrounded by shimmering colors. "I thought about this place every day," Kyle said quietly. "No matter where I went, no matter how far, I carried it in my heart." "And I thought about you," Leora replied. "I used to look at the stars and wonder where you were. Sometimes I thought you might never come back, but I still hoped." Kyle reached into his pocket and took out the small box. He opened it, revealing the shining ring inside. The crystal's light danced across its surface, casting soft colors on the walls. Leora gasped softly. "Kyle, what is this?" He smiled. "Do you remember what I told you when we were kids? That one day I'd come back and marry you? This ring, it's made from a metal I found on a planet far beyond our galaxy. And in the center, that's a crystal just like the ones here in our cave. I carried it with me on every mission. It reminded me of you, of home, and of this promise." Tears filled Leora's eyes as she looked at the ring. She covered her mouth with her hand, unable to speak for a moment. Kale took her hand gently. "Leora," he said softly, "I've traveled through stars, survived storms, and faced things I never imagined. But through it all, my heart stayed here with you. I've come home to keep the promise I made all those years ago." Leora's tears fell, but her smile was warm and full of love. "Kyle," she whispered, "I waited for you. I always believed you would come back." Kyle knelt before her just as he had imagined during all those years among the stars. "Then let me ask properly this time," he said with a smile. "Will you marry me, Leora?" She nodded, her voice trembling with happiness. "Yes, Kale, I will." The cave filled with a soft glow as the crystals seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the moment. Outside, the twin suns began to rise, painting the sky in orange and gold. It was the same sunrise they had watched as children, but now it marked a new beginning. When they returned to the colony the next day, everyone was talking about them. People were amazed to see that Kale had not only returned, but had brought with him a symbol of his promise kept across time and space. To the colony, their story became a legend, a reminder that promises made with love and faith can outlast distance, time, and even the stars themselves. For Kale and Leora, it was more than a story. It was their life, a circle completed, a dream fulfilled, and a promise kept forever. After the day Kale returned and proposed to Leora in the Crystal Cave, life in the colony began to change in small but meaningful ways. The story of their reunion spread quickly, and people of all ages were inspired by the strength of their bond, the courage Kale had shown during his journeys, and the patience Leora had carried for so many years. Their story became a living legend, reminding everyone that promises made with the heart could survive even the longest distances and the harshest challenges. Kale and Leora spent their first weeks together slowly, rediscovering one another. They walked through the colony streets, visiting friends and neighbors, reconnecting with people they had known in childhood. Kale shared stories of his travels, describing alien landscapes, strange creatures, and incredible discoveries. People listened with awe, imagining the dangers he had faced and the bravery it had taken to return home. Children were especially captivated, asking questions about the stars, the planets, and the adventures Kale had experienced. Leora, meanwhile, showed Kale the innovations she had created for the colony. She explained her energy systems, her new vehicles for exploring nearby planets, and her work with the younger settlers. Kale was amazed at how much she had accomplished and proud of the difference she had made. He realized that while he had traveled far to grow stronger, Leora had grown equally powerful in her own way, building a thriving home for everyone around her. Together, they decided to rebuild the Crystal Cave as a place for everyone to enjoy. It was no longer just a secret hideaway for two children. It became a symbol of hope, love, and determination. Kale and Leora worked with the settlers to clean the paths, place protective lights, and make small shelters where people could gather. They left the crystals untouched, letting their natural glow shine while adding new elements to honor the unity of the community. The cave became a place for meetings, celebrations, and quiet reflection, a reminder that the promise between two hearts had inspired an entire colony. As time passed, Kale and Leora grew closer each day. They shared meals, explored the nearby cliffs and valleys, and spent long evenings talking under the stars. Kyle often recalled the days of his childhood, when he and Leora had dreamed of adventures beyond their home. Now, as a man who had lived those adventures, he appreciated their bond even more. Leora laughed at his tales, teasing him gently, but also listened carefully, understanding the courage and effort behind each journey. The couple also began planning their future together. Kale wanted to continue exploring, but this time, he wished to bring Leora along for part of the journey. He dreamed of showing her distant worlds, teaching her about new discoveries, and sharing the wonders of the universe firsthand. Leora, ever practical, encouraged him but also reminded him of the importance of the colony. They decided on a balance. Kyle would continue missions to distant planets, but he would return regularly, and Leora would lead and protect the colony in his absence. Together, they would build a life that blended adventure and responsibility. In the months that followed, Kale and Leora's relationship became a model for others. Young couples in the colony looked to them as an example of loyalty and dedication. Families admired how they had maintained hope across decades and distance. Kale and Leora held gatherings at the Crystal Cave, sharing their story and encouraging children to dream boldly and work hard to achieve their goals. The cave became more than a place of memories. It became a school of life lessons. Kyle also shared his knowledge of the galaxy with the colony's youth. He taught them about navigation, survival skills, and the wonders of the stars. He emphasized the importance of curiosity, courage, and keeping promises. Leora, in turn, taught engineering, problem-solving, and the value of patience and perseverance. Together, they mentored the next generation, helping them prepare for a life full of challenges and opportunities, just as they had experienced. One day, while Kale was teaching a group of children how to read the stars, Leora brought him a small gift. It was a crystal carved into the shape of a star, similar to the ones in their cave. "I wanted you to have something from home," she said softly, "so that wherever you go, you'll carry the colony with you." Kyle smiled, touched by the thoughtfulness of her gift. He placed it beside his navigation tools, a reminder of the home he had fought so hard to return to. Life was not without challenges. Sometimes storms swept across the colony, or new threats emerged from distant planets. Kale and Leora faced these challenges together, combining their skills and knowledge to protect their people. Kale's experience in the galaxy helped him anticipate dangers, while Leora's innovations and leadership ensured that the colony was prepared. Each problem they solved together strengthened their bond, reminding them of the teamwork they had always shared, even as children. As the years passed, Kale and Leora married in a simple yet beautiful ceremony at the Crystal Cave. The settlers gathered to celebrate, and the sky was painted with the colors of the twin suns. They exchanged vows that reflected not only their love for each other, but also their shared dedication to the colony. Kyle placed the ring on Leora's finger, and in that moment, the promise made decades ago as children was finally fulfilled. Their laughter and tears mingled, echoing through the cave and across the valley. The couple continued to explore together, sometimes traveling to nearby planets for research or trade, and other times staying home to nurture the colony. Kale shared stories of distant worlds, while Leora implemented ideas inspired by their travels. The colony prospered under their guidance, blending innovation with care and exploration with stability. They taught everyone that life could be full of adventure, while remaining grounded in love, responsibility, and loyalty. Kale and Leora also made it a tradition to take the children of the colony on small adventures. They climbed cliffs, explored valleys, and even ventured into the Crystal Cave together. The children listened to their stories in awe, learning lessons about courage, hope, and the importance of keeping promises. Through these activities, Kyle and Leora ensured that the next generation would grow up valuing the same principles that had guided their own lives. Even in their quieter moments, Kale and Leora found joy in the simple things, watching the sunset over the cliffs, walking through the fields where they had once played, and holding hands under the glowing stars. Their love had matured, deepened, and strengthened through years of waiting, challenges, and adventures. It was no longer just the promise of two children. It was a living, breathing partnership built on trust, respect, and shared dreams. One evening, as they sat in the Crystal Cave together, Kale looked at Leora and said, "Do you remember when I promised to come back?" Leora smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the crystals. "I never doubted it, not for a single day." Kyle took her hand. "And now, after all these years, we have so much more than a promise. We have a life full of memories, adventures, and love, and we get to share it with everyone here." Leora leaned against him, content and happy. "Yes, we do. And together, we can help this colony thrive, explore new worlds, and show the future generations what it means to dream and keep those dreams alive." As the twin suns set over the valley, the couple sat quietly, feeling the gentle warmth of the fading light. Around them, the crystal cave glimmered, the colors reflecting the story of their lives. A story of childhood dreams, challenges, courage, and love that endured across time and space. The colony thrived, inspired by the example of Kale and Leora. People learned to face difficulties with hope, to cherish the bonds of friendship and love, and to believe that promises made with sincerity could truly last forever. Children grew up dreaming of the stars, knowing that one day, they too could achieve great things while remaining loyal to their hearts. Kale and Leora continued to live full and adventurous lives, balancing their personal dreams with the needs of their community. Their love story became a guiding light, A tale told and retold around fires, classrooms, and gathering halls. It was a story that reminded everyone that human courage, loyalty, and heart could overcome even the greatest distances, whether across the stars or through the years. In the end, Kyle and Leora's lives were full, not because they had traveled to the farthest reaches of the universe, but because they had kept their promise to each other. Their bond, forged in childhood and tested by time and space, had grown stronger with every challenge. And together they showed that when love, hope, and dedication guide a life, even the wildest dreams can come true. The Crystal Cave, once a hidden secret, became a place of celebration, reflection, and inspiration. And every time Kale and Leora stood there hand in hand, watching the sun paint the sky with colors of gold and orange, they remembered the journey that had brought them home. A journey of courage, patience, and the enduring power of a promise kept.